What's up, everybody? Welcome back to some more Oxygen Not Included action. Today we got a build video for you, and oh my god, it is epic. I am telling you, this is probably the best thing I've ever created in this game. I'm in love with it. But before we get into it, I'd like to talk to you real quick about this goal I have for this channel, and that is to reach 50 subscribers before the end of this year, 2018. I'm already at 30 something. Now, I'm not asking you to subscribe simply to subscribe, but if you like my videos and you watch multiple, if you learn something from them, if you enjoy them, get any kind of entertainment out of them at all, please consider subscribing to help me achieve that goal. All right? Now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the build. So the basic concept for this, actually, if you watch the latest video, I think episode 10 in my max difficulty settings run, then you'll probably know what this is about. But essentially, I found a gold volcano, and I want to use that gold, the heat that comes off it, to run a petroleum factory, basically. So what we've got going on, and the concept behind this build, is that we pump a little petroleum into these generators, creating polluted water, then pumping that polluted water through a sieve into an oil well, creating oil, running that oil through our petroleum factory, generating petroleum, pumping the petroleum back to the generator, but also cooling the petroleum down with steam generators, generating a little bit of power in the process, then pumping it back to the petroleum generators, creating more polluted water, resetting the process. This is basically just to simulate like power usage in a normal base. So these just turn on at various times during the cycle and cause more power to be sucked out. But yeah, okay, so back to the system. This is all kind of experimental. We don't really need to focus on this. I'm not really sure about the design or setup of this, but the petroleum factory was the hardest part, and that was the part that I wanted to get done first. So how do we do it? Well, converting oil straight to petroleum without going to sour gas first is quite a challenge because the thermosensors we have only go up to 300 degrees. We can grab one right here. Boom. And see, 300, and oil converts to petroleum at 400 degrees. So we really don't have any automated way of testing whether or not the oil is at temperature. So that's what I came up with this thing. So basically, this is like a pseudo thermosensor in the fact that it will go to a certain degree and then like that's just it. That's the degrees it'll go to, and it won't go any higher or any lower. I mean, it will to a certain extent. As you can see, this is 1100, but we're using gold. So gold has a freeze point of 1063. If we can, but on the solid gold, it also has a melting point of 1063. So that's why you see it fluctuating through solid and liquid here. So by using that property, we can use a hydro sensor connected to this mechanized airlock here to say, hey, if there's any liquid here, open the door, stopping heat transfer. So we've transferred enough heat to melt this gold back down. We don't want to transfer any more. This way we'll stay around 1000 degrees, much more manageable than the 2600 that the gold comes out of the volcano at. And from there, we can transfer that. As you can see, this tile is only 693. This one down here is 1100. And that's because this gold is constantly fluctuating. So it goes to a liquid, transferring some of the heat over to this tile, then goes back to a solid, which when it's like this and it's a little block form here, it's only contacting this bottom tile. So it's not actually transferring heat over to this guy. So we can see it just slowly transfers heat. Can actually speed it up here. You can see it doesn't transfer heat very quickly. And then when we dump the oil in, we draw heat out of this tile, which in turn draws heat out of the gold, and it just repeats the process. So it's pretty clever the way that the gold state change kind of monitors the temperature that we're outputting here. And originally I had this window tile set to a obsidian, just a regular obsidian tile, but it was transferring heat way too slow. So we turned it into a window tile. The other clever part of this design is how we actually monitor the change from oil to petroleum. So there's no, automation. We can just stick in the oil and say, hey, trigger when you're no longer oil. So I noticed that this was happening right here when I was doing my original testing. Is we would dump the oil in. Not all of the oil would convert to petroleum at once. That caused the petroleum to kind of float up on top of the oil and sit there. So we could put a hydro sensor above where our little oil level is, and we can essentially use this as an automation signal to tell us that the oil has started to change state. And then with some other automation, we can tell us when it's finished changing state, as you'll see here. So boom, it drops back down. There's no more liquid here, so it re-triggers. And then it drops down to a little holding chamber. And essentially this is just so I don't keep dropping more and more liquid down to this and reheating the petroleum that I've already cooled down with these, because that's ready to go be shipped out to the petroleum generators while the next batch still needs to be cooled down. So I don't want to be mixing them. Let me take a drink real quick. Ooh, okay. So the automation, boom. It's actually pretty dang simple, to be honest. So first off, we've got this guy. This is an OR gate set to a element sensor on the pipe. So if we're out of oil, this will trigger. So it's element sensor, not gate, into one of the OR sides. And then that goes to the heat transfer door. So essentially, if we're out of oil, we're not able to pump any more in here, we're going to permanently open this door until we get more oil in the pipe. So this is kind of an overheating protector. So we don't, get this door way too hot and then finally get oil back and it turns into sour gas. And then we have the liquid sensor, which goes to the other part of the OR. It's just set to above 0 kilograms. So if there's any liquid at all, trigger this door, opening it, stopping the heat transfer. So the other part of, the first part of our little oil contraption here is if we are below 40 kilograms, we'll go into a filter gate and after X amount of seconds, turn on this shutoff, letting more oil into the system. The second part is the first detectant of the state change of oil. So when oil first starts turning to petroleum, this is going to activate. And if I just play it, we could probably see it. But this will activate, and it goes into the active port of a memory toggle. There we go. So boom, we've started change phases. So let's trigger this active port. Now, even after the liquid goes back down, we haven't reset this toggle yet. So it's going to remain active at this point. Now, this is going to an AND gate. The other part of the AND gate is connected to the exact same wire, but a NOT gate going into it. That way, when the water drops back down, this signal will turn off, triggering the NOT, activating the other side of the AND gate. That way we know that the petroleum has fully shifted, and then that AND gates go on. The AND gate goes on to trigger the active port of a memory toggle for this door, opening the door, allowing the petroleum to fall through. The second part of the system is how do we reset these? So this guy right here, this hydro sensor at the bottom, is perfect for this. So if we're below 40 kilograms, which will happen once we drop all this liquid down, we can then go and reset this, closing the door, and reset this, preparing it for the next state change. And we can kind of see that working right here. I'll try and actually slow it down to ×1 speed, so a little bit easier to notice, but it happens very quickly. So let's see, how long are we gonna sit here? Well, the oil's at 360, so let's speed it up a bit. Okay, we're at 390 there. Getting pretty close, so we're at 400. As you can see, it doesn't shift right at 400. There we go. So you can see that this one turned off, sending the NOT signal into the AND gate, opening this door. There we go, boom, everything drops down. And boom, trigger the resets for the memory toggles so we can repeat the process. So pretty clever design. It took a little while to develop that, but in the end, it was way worth it. And then, as I said before, we just dropped down to the little holding tank here, and then further on to the cooling system, which I guess I'll go over. Basically, we just have a hydro sensor here. So if we have anything in here, then this door will remain shut because we don't want to drop any more in. And then we have a thermal sensor set to a memory toggle with a filter gate so we can open and close this door once we hit below 270 because this is a steel pump. Steel pumps overheat at 275. That's not the page, 275. So we don't want to go above that, obviously overheating everything. And then it pumps out to our petroleum generators. So that's the whole system. Now I know that we have pumps now that can go up to 975 overheat temperature, but I don't currently have access to them in the game. So I wanted to build a system that I could use right now. But when I do gain access to them, all I really need to do is come over here, and we don't even need that. We can use niobium, but come over here, boom. Replace this door with some tiles, put the pump here, and then pump the liquid through these with radiant pipes. And that's the whole system, you know, and we can just do away with a lot of these doors and this stuff. So that's how the system works. I'm really excited to implement this in my base. Like I said, I do have some more testing I got to do with the power system. But these steam generators actually generate quite a bit of power considering we're using the gold to heat up oil and not like directly into them. So I'm pretty impressed with how much they actually generate. And if we go to the power usage here, we can see that the steam turbine generated 170 kilojoules, 180, oops, that's the wrong one, 452 on that guy, 300, 400, 50. I don't know what happened there. This must be when they were still heating up and they weren't ready. Yeah, I think this was just when they were still heating up. But some original tests I did, like on my original design over here, I was getting up to like 500 kilojoules. But this system used a timer for the door, and I didn't like it, so I redid it over here. I'm much happier with this system right now. And like I said, there's a few kinks I need to iron out, but that's mainly with this. All of this right here is working and functioning like perfectly. Super happy with it. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. I do appreciate you spending your time watching it, and I hope you learned something. I hope you can, you know, get excited as be using this in your base. I love tinkering around with these kind of things, and you know, trying to use squeeze every little drop of power or material out of everything I can. So it was a lot of fun designing this, and I look forward to doing more of these in the future. Thank you for watching the video. Hit that thumbs up. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions or questions or anything, any kind of feedback. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.